Hello, this is Lisa. I'm going to be talking about the vertical line test today. How do we determine if a graph we're given is the graph of a function or not? If the graph of a function can be intersected at most one time by any vertical line, then we have a function. And this is called the vertical line test for functions. So we're going to do some examples below. I have two graphs here. And first we're going to determine which is a function and which is not. And then we're going to give the domain and range of the function. Now these are not showing up very well on my screen. I'm going to draw these lines in blue. So my first function, or my first graph, is a horizontal line. My second graph, and I didn't trace that very well, but it's a vertical line. So using the vertical line test, if I draw in red any vertical line on this first graph, does it cross my function in just one point, or in at most one point? And the answer is yes. There's only one place where my vertical line crosses my blue graph. So this one, yes, it is a function. My vertical line, however, I can try to draw some vertical lines to test. Now this vertical line crosses it in exactly 0 places. But if I think about drawing the vertical line right here, it crosses my graph in every point. Okay, so more than one point on my vertical line and on my graph overlap or intersect. So this one is not a function. So we do not have a function there. We can still talk about domain and range. For my function, remember, domain goes left to right, and my horizontal line goes all the way to the left. It goes all the way out towards negative infinity, and all the way to the right towards positive infinity. My range, now the range for this one, there's only one y value that's used here. Every single point has a y value of 5. So I'm going to go back to my set brackets here and say the only number in my range is 5. For my vertical line, if we look here, every point has an x value at -3. I only have one number in my domain, and that is the number 3. My range, however, this graph goes down forever and up forever. It goes down towards negative infinity and it comes up towards positive infinity. So that's the range for that function. We're going to look at two more graphs. This one, kind of like a parabola that lies on its side, okay? And as it opens up, it kind of extends in both directions. So this one, is it a function, yes or no? If I go back to my red ink and I draw a vertical line here, there is a vertical line that crosses my graph in more than one place. This is not a function. I can still talk about domain and range though. The domain for this graph, if I think about how far to the left does it go? Well, this graph has a leftmost point right there. It looks like it starts at an x value of 2. That's the leftmost value, and there is a point right there, so we're going to include 2. But if I go out to the right, it keeps going to the right. It's going towards infinity. The range on this graph, how low does it go? How high does it go? Well, this one, it looks like as it opens up, it keeps going further and further down towards negative infinity, and it goes farther and farther up towards infinity. And this graph here would be another one of those U-shapes or parabolas. This time it goes up. So this one, any vertical line that I draw, if I draw a vertical line right here, it's going to intersect that in at most 1 point. So this one is a function. So function, yes it is. Okay, our domain and range. So I want you to think about domain. How far down does the graph go? Does it have a lowest point? How high up does it, sorry, I'm doing range. Domain are x values, how far to the left and how far to the right. Now it's kind of hard to see here, but as my parabola opens up, it's going to keep going out to the left and out to the right. My domain is going to go from negative infinity to infinity. My range, however, I do have a lowest point. So if you think about which direction the y values go in, the y-axis goes low to high. Our lowest point looks to me like that is at -4, and it keeps going up higher and higher towards infinity. On our next slide, this time I'm not giving you the graph. I'm asking you to determine the domain and range by graphing the function. So you can pull out your calculators if you want to, or you can think about what the graph of this line looks like. I'm going to graph it by hand, but if you wanted to, you could graph it on your calculator. I know my slope is 3/1, and I know my y-intercept is the 0.05. So I'm going to graph 0.5 first, and slope 3/1, or I could think of it as -3 over -1. If I go down 3 units and I go left 1 unit, that's going to give me another point on the graph. If I go up 3 units and I go right 1 unit, that would give me another point on my graph. So either way, I can draw the graph of that line. Okay? And again, my line is going to go forever. So this is a function. Any vertical line that I draw will cross that blue graph in at most 1 point. So we know we have a function. Our domain, how far to the left does it go? As it goes down, it keeps moving farther and farther to the left. So it's going towards negative infinity. And as we go up, we're also going farther and farther to the right. It's going towards infinity. My line goes down forever and up forever. So my domain and range are both negative infinity to infinity. And that concludes this video.